$60 million. And this is a president who is able to get funding. And we've had the first month of a series of candidacy for Romney where he actually beat President Obama, the social media president, in raising funds. And it looks like in June they did $100 million. And there are people from Wall Street who aren't putting money into the Obama campaign like they were a few years ago. So I think one of the things that may be a little bit more important than his religion is how much money he can raise and whether that is in some ways commensurate with his ability to align conservatives with him. And it seems like he's able to raise a significant amount of money.
Well, how much money he's going to make is also going to come in line with the entire campaign, whether he wins or loses, much less whether he gets the conservatives or whether he gets the right-wing election.
Yeah, I mean, I would really just say that the amount of money that Romney's able to raise right now is somewhat impressive, and shows that the conservatives, and those are the guys with the money.
And this will be $1 billion election.
And in 2016, it will be a $2 billion election. Like, that's not going to change. So, at the end of the day, I think money may be more important than that cultural aspect of his religion.
Well, it's more important.
I think that money is definitely important in regards to what he raises, but I think that it's going to be more so about what particular type of people he taps into. Is it going to be the youth? Is it going to be the African American community? Is it going to be the Hispanic community? I think that that's more important because we got to look at it like Obama did raise a ton of money for his first run at it, but the majority of his publicity was free. You gotta understand, he didn't have to raise, and I don't think he's gonna have to raise as much money as Romney to really get reelected because, I mean, how many times have we set up Facebook pages? A Facebook page got me here today, and it didn't cost Anwar a dime, but yet I'm here to support. So I don't think that it's going to come down to the funds being raised. I think that, like you were saying, what's your name, brother?
Celestine Chacon.
Celestine Chacon. I think this is more so going to come back down to how you were saying before, the money, the issues, because it does seem as if Romney is more so about economy, but I think that Obama is sticking with healthcare more so because that's his legacy. At the end of the day, if he could be remembered as the gentleman who got universal health care, it doesn't matter how much money he actually raised, to go towards his campaign to re-elect. All of the other things don't really matter. He's going to be remembered for universal health care and the fact that he was the first president of color. So I think that those are more so the issues, and the tides are changing as well, too. I think that Romney is, he's a Mormon, but I think that we also have to look at it that outside of the Hispanic community growing, also the gay, lesbian, the transsexual community, that community is growing. And it's a touchy subject, but you'd be a fool not to somewhat have some sort of interest in it because eventually it's going to come down to that. There's going to be a ton of politicians, there's going to be a ton of, businessmen, businesswomen that are going to say, hey, I'm gay, hey, I'm lesbian, hey, I'm bisexual, I'm transsexual. And these are in the future, possibly not for our generation, this is going to be the working force. So you have to have some sort of investment in that, and it seems like Obama does. So and it could be an uncomfortable topic, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we also have to include them into this discussion. We're talking about Romney, we're talking a lot about Obama, but we got to swing it to Hispanics and the gay and lesbian communities as well, because let's be for real, these communities are going to make or break this particular election as well. So we got to somewhat bring that to the table. I think that Romney being a Mormon is one thing, but I think and especially for me being, a veteran, knocking off the don't ask, don't tell policy, I mean, you are now going to get a ton of the soldiers behind you. Because let's be for real, young men fight old men's wars. Old men don't go up there, put those Kevlars on and shoot back or shoot at. So it's going to be a huge amount of support that's coming from urban communities for those who have children, younger brothers, younger sisters. We can say like, God, I couldn't believe it, but my cousin is gay. You know what I'm saying? My little nephew is gay. My niece is gay. And honestly, you think that if they are of age, it's not going to affect them and who they actually vote for? Let's actually bring that to the table. However uncomfortable it is, we have to also look at those communities as well.
Well, I think that, when Dr. Washington was talking earlier, Obama addressed Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He also addressed the gay marriage issue, and he definitely should, address specific issues in the African American community, because he has addressed those issues, and mainly it's the African Americans that are coming out and supporting Obama, and poor people. So he has to, I definitely think that, when he addressed the gay marriage and he addressed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, he was sending a message to the left. Individuals who are gay, you can support them. I definitely stand by gay marriage, but he also left it up to the states to decide.
Well, the thing about it, Obama is not necessarily, I don't think he's worried about the black vote. I think that he's going to get the black vote, he's just going to get a diminished number. He's not worried about the black vote. I think if you look at what he just did recently, he put together an immigration plan.
The Dream Act.
Right. Now, that plan was not directed to black people. Right. It was directed to Hispanics. And he recognizes that is now the supermajority of the minority group.
Right.
So he already says, I have the black vote. I have the number that I need, or the number that I got in 2008. But I have that. He's now looking further down the road. And that is something, now when he did that, Mitt Romney said, I got a plan too. He said, well, okay, what is your plan? Well, I'll tell you later. So in fact, he really had no plan. But the point is, he understood that this is a battlefield that they have to fight on. And whether or not I can capture that Hispanic vote and keep it in my column, that is what's going to do it. Obama has to worry about also the women's vote. You see, that's in particular. See, so there are whole lots of issues. When you look at it, there are myriad of other issues that have to be taken into account. And the president has to seize hundreds of issues, and they all have little particular interest groups that want to see that become the number one issue. I also believe that Obama will win re-election. I do believe that. And I think he's deserving of winning re-election, because I think we've all talked about the failures or what the lack of things that Obama responded to. But let us keep in mind, when someone says, are we better off now than we were 4 years ago? I'll say, yeah. And the reason I say 4 years, if we look at 4 years ago, the stock market was 6.7. Housing market collapsed. The automobile industry was collapsing. The real estate industry was collapsing. Wall Street, everything was collapsing, you see. And with all those collapses, see, everybody says, you haven't done this. Okay, I agree you haven't done this. But when you look at the fact that your major automobile companies were getting ready to go belly up, they were ready to go belly up, there's no question about it. The real estate market was in a state of devastation, complete devastation. There's no question about that. Now, are we talking about the automobile industry? No. If you look at some of the, they've posted record gains. You see, they've posted record gains. We look at the real estate market, while it's not doing like it should be, at least we've kind of stemmed that tide of complete erosion. You see, and look at unemployment. Wow, it was going up under George Bush. As a matter of fact, it was the Bush policy, and I think this is what Reagan is going to say, and I think it's part of his strategy. It is this Bush policy, Obama's policy, Obama's going to say, look at what's this Bush policy that led us to where we are. Do we want to go back to that, or do we want to move forward? Now, it's true, there's some things I haven't been able to do, given only 4 years, but the fact of the matter is, look at where you were.
Yes, I think that to that point, I think that I don't have an opinion as to who I think is going to win yet, and it could be dangerous for those who say so early in the game that they think one side or the other is going to win. And when you do look at the argument of, well, I didn't allow us to absolutely collapse, that may not be as successful as it needs to be in terms of, well, I didn't have a house before, I don't have a house now, but I had a job before. And when you think of the gay issue or the Latina issue or the women's issues, there's one thing that's central to all of them is, I'm a woman, but I'm unemployed. I'm gay, but I'm unemployed. I'm black, but I'm unemployed. So we have to be very, and like I said, look at the historical significance. You haven't had a president win with 8-point-something% unemployment, regardless of where they've come from. Remember, unemployment was in the 9s and 10s for the Reagan years as well, and he got them down. Yet you barely have 2-term Democratic presidents anyway. So I think it's somewhat dangerous to if, for those that do want Obama to win, you might want to act like, hey, we haven't won yet, in some degree. And like I said, if you look at many of the other statistics, well, I didn't take us to the verge of collapse, or Bush isn't the person necessarily that allowed the car manufacturers to shut down. That they made bad investments. Banks made bad investments. I mean, if you look at JP Morgan just lost $2 billion in a week. And that's a policy, as he mentioned earlier, from the Glass-Steagall days, that these are not necessarily tied to just one administration.
But it was the Bush administration that removed the regulation.
No, that was
the Glass-Steagall Act came under Clinton, but the Bush administration supported the removal of those regulations as well.
But either way, President Obama kind of walked into that. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you really have to sit down and say, will that argument work looking back at Bush, which many people are advising him not to do, from his own handlers. So, I mean, I don't know whether that's going to be a powerful argument to the mass people who are unemployed right now, some of which we believe is even double the 8.2%. And so, and it is jobs. There is a direct and strong correlation between whether you are employed and who wins the election. And so, it's something that I think, people should be exceptionally cognizant.
But I also would suggest to you that the job bill that the Obama administration pushed forward was bottled up by the Republican Congress too.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to go in the booth and remember that. They're going to look in their wallet and say, "There's no money." They're not going to say, "Well, you guys," because bickering happens. That's government, and even to his credit, there are people who the first day he won say, "I don't want this man to succeed."
Right.
And
they were Republican.
And
they're the party of no. And if you look at Congress,
but at the end of the day, it takes someone with executive skill in some ways to say, all right, well, I know you don't want to work with me, but how can we work together? And if you don't have experience doing that, hold on a second. If you don't have experience doing that, you don't know that sometimes you can't take your opponent head on. You've got to expand an olive branch. And maybe all of us would not be suffering with this continued high unemployment if there was more of a I would call a Bill Clinton moment where we're going to sit in front of the White House, me, you, and Newt Gingrich, and we're going to make a contract with America, and there's going to at least be a perception internally and externally that we're working together, so the S&P doesn't downgrade us like they did, and that's